How you guys doing out there? LA Charger Radio with Charger Dave. Welcome to episode 2, everybody. And in this episode, like I stated in the previous podcast, I want to go over, each game, give my predictions as to which games I think we will win and lose. Of course, being a fan, I mean, you want them to win every single game. Obviously, you want them to go 16-0. But, in all reality, that's only happened, one other time or two other times in NFL history. And, needless to say, it's not a very high probability. So we're going to go with realistic expectations in terms of what I think the Chargers can do this year. I do think we're going to be leaps and bounds better than we were last year. I think we were a good team last year. I don't think our record indicated how good of a team we were, given the injuries and that sort of thing, the mistakes in the games that we lost, the close games. So having said all that, let's go ahead and kick this off here, and we'll start with Game 1, the season opener on 9/11 in Denver against the Broncos. A game that I think we will win, and I'll tell you why. The Denver Broncos, you're looking at a team that they have the top pass defense in the league. One of the worst run defenses in the league, surprisingly. They're ranked 28th against the run. But more so, you got to look at what's happened during the offseason, right? Teams are never the same year in and year out. And so when you look at things like DeMarcus Ware, who was a big part of their defense, retiring, the fact that they got a new coach in Vance Joseph, who was Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator last year. It takes time to put those pieces back together when you have a coach in John Fox that retired, having won a Super Bowl, somebody of that caliber. Another Hall of Famer that retired, DeMarcus Ware. I mean, those are big chunks that got bitten off of that team. And I'm not taking anything away from them, saying that they're going to be a horrible team or anything like that. But I think it's going to take them some time to gain some chemistry and to learn Vance Joseph's style of coaching and that sort of thing. And for that reason, I do have us winning that game. I have us winning that game 14-10. Kind of low scoring game, but nevertheless we come out on top in that game. So that's the first game. The second game, which is the very first game, home opener in LA, much anticipated. Everyone's going to be lined up to catch the very first game in LA. And so surprisingly enough, I do have us winning a lot of our home games this year, this being the first of them. And I'll tell you what, I have them losing this game against the Dolphins. And like I said, anything that I say here on this podcast, hope that you guys don't take it the wrong way. I'm not rooting for another team or hoping that they lose these games. This is just me just looking at the teams for what they have, the arsenal that they have, the weapons that they have. And although I do think we're going to be a great team this year, we're going to have a great defense and a high-powered offense. We're going to win some games, we're going to lose some games. That's just the nature of the beast. Just like I was saying earlier, it's almost impossible for teams to go 16-0. Like I said, it's only happened 2 other times in the last 52 years. And having said that, it's even harder. It's also hard to go 8-0 at home or 8-0 away, for that matter. So I do have us winning a lot of home games this year, but this one is not one of the games that I have us winning. I have us losing this game, a close game. I have it 28-24 Miami, and Miami is a team that is sort of middle of the pack when it comes to their pass defense. If we are going to win that game, it's definitely going to have to come from Phillip Rivers' arm. When it comes to how you look at that game. I mean, they do also have one of the league's worst ranked run defenses. So I do think that I might have said that backwards. I said that it needed to come from Phillip Rivers' arm in terms of the win, but let me flip that. The victory needs to come if we're going to beat Miami in Game 2. It needs to come off of the back of Melvin Gordon. The Dolphins were ranked 30th. They had the third worst ranked run defense last year, and that kind of speaks volumes. They also have some gaps in their secondary as well, so it could also come from the arm of Phillip Rivers as well. But I had to basically analyze each of these home games and pick the one home game that I felt like they were going to lose. And this is game I picked. And so, that's game 2, 28-24 Miami. Let's move on here. Let's go to game 3, which is another home game. And we'll be hosting our rivals, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this game, I do have us winning this game. It's going to be a close game, I feel like. But I do have us winning this game 20-16. The Chiefs, surprisingly enough, looking at their stats from last year, were actually ranked 19th in the pass overall and 26th in the run defense. For some reason, I guess because of their record, I felt like they had much better stats than that. But the numbers speak for themselves. They do have one of the worst run defenses according to last year. So again, another area where Melvin Gordon could perhaps turn an L into a W. But I do have us winning that game at home, and it'll be the first victory I think in LA for us, and that'll be the third game of the season. Moving on to the fourth game of the season, we are looking at the home game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Another game that I feel is very winnable. I do have us winning this game also. And I have us winning that game fairly easy, 31-14. LA Chargers over the Philadelphia Eagles. I know that the Eagles got Alshon Jeffrey in the offseason. And again, another team that has running back issues. They don't have. They have sort of a middle of the pack run defense and pass defense. They're sort of middle of the pack when it comes to both. So you can kind of pick your poison when it comes to those kinds of teams and figure, are you going to run it down their throat or pass or do a little bit of both? But yes, I do have us winning that game against Philadelphia in game number 4, 31-14. Moving on, we have a 2-game road trip. Game 5 in New York against the Giants. A game that I feel will be very close. But I do have us losing that game against the Giants. I feel like I said, now the Giants, when you look at their team, they have one of the better run defenses in the league. They're ranked 4th overall. And then pretty atrocious in the pass defense. They're ranked 24th overall. I know Landon Collins is sort of like this new newfound hero over there, but one guy can't beat 3 wide receivers and stuff like that. So, that's a game where, because of how lopsided their defense is, They're top heavy when it comes to their run defense, and then they need a lot of help in the secondary. So a game like that, it's going to come down to Phillip Rivers, I feel like. And the Giants do have a lot of weapons as well on offense. I know that's how they win a lot of their games. But they also have a running back issue, and that's why I have that game being so close. I have it 30-28 New York, in New York. Cross my fingers that I'm wrong about that one, but I gave the Giants the win on that one. Moving to the sixth game of the season, we face our arch nemesis, the Oakland Raiders, in LA. I'm sorry, in Oakland, for that matter. And I also have us losing that game. I have us, losing back-to-back games those 2 weeks. I have it as a close game. I think that, the defense on both sides of the ball are going to be extremely good. When you look at the Raiders' stats from last year, it's non-comprehensible in terms of how they even ended up at 12-4, because they have one of the worst ranked pass defenses at 25, and then they also have one of the worst run defenses at 23, but yet they still managed to end up at 12-4. A lot of that has to do with their high-powered offense and scoring a lot of points, and that's basically the game they play. Let's try to outscore you. Nevertheless, a lot of the times we play the Raiders, they're close games. So I have that game 17-14 Oakland, in Oakland. And of course we're going to face them again later on in the season. We'll talk about that when we get to the last game of the season. But for that one, Game 6, I have it going to the Raiders. Then for Game 7, we go to another division rival, the Denver Broncos. Again, we play them twice in 7 weeks. This time it's going to be at home in LA, and I do have us winning that game also. I have us basically sweeping the Denver Broncos this coming year. I think that the game that we play at home is going to be a hell of a lot more. There's going to be a hell of a lot more scoring than in the first game, I feel like. And I have us beating the Denver Broncos 26-10. Like I said, they got a new coach. They got some retired key player. And at the end of the day, when you look at that lopsided defense that they have a hard time stopping the run, and that's going to be a good opportunity for us to throw some short passes and get the ball into Melvin Gordon's hands and have him do his damage. So I have us winning that game 26-10. And then we go to the midway point in the season, where we fly to New England to face the Super Bowl reigning champs, New England Patriots, in New England. This game, even though, when you look at it from the, as a fan, of course, you want to go to the other team's home stadium and beat them in front of their fans. That's everybody's wish. That's my wish. I hope I'm wrong about this game again, but I have us losing this game to the Patriots 34-23. I think that we are going to be a much improved team from last year. I'll tell you that much. But the fact of the matter is that we're going to have to go through a season where we get better, and I do think we will go very far this year. I won't go farther than saying that we'll make it to the playoffs. I feel like that's a certainty. But to say we're going to make it to Super Bowl 52, as a fan, in my heart of hearts, hell yeah, I want them to make it to Super Bowl 52. I wouldn't want anything more than to see that team make it to the Super Bowl every year. If we're going to get fanatic about it, if we're going to get absurd about it, I mean, that's what I want to see, right? But, you're dealing with one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. Gronk will be back. The team already has 1,001 weapons. Like I said, I can't wait to see what we do against the Patriots. But just for the sake of us being the underdogs, being at their home stadium, and them being the reigning champs, on paper you have to give it to them. On paper you have to say, okay, you guys are the favorites. Let us come in there and prove you guys all wrong and upset you. And I wouldn't want anything else in the world but to be a surprise upset on that game. But I do have us losing that game 34-23 in New England, which puts us at the bye week in week 9. Of course, we come home and rest, heal up, all that good stuff. Then we're back on the plane, flying to start the second half of the season, and we fly to Jacksonville, Florida, to go take on none other than Gus Bradley, our new defensive coordinator, his old team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that he knows very well, and a game that should be very winnable for us. And that is why I have us in a blowout against the Jaguars, 38-17. I have us winning that game. Now speaking of Jacksonville's, rankings really quickly. Surprisingly, they have a very highly ranked secondary. They're ranked 5th in the NFL in terms of stopping the pass. Yards allowed, that sort of thing. And then they also have one of the worst run defenses in the league. So another team that's top heavy and has a very big weakness when it comes to the run aspect of the game. Another game where you could see Melvin Gordon running wild, maybe even getting a record in that game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I do have us winning 38-17 in the 9th game of the season. We go to the 10th game of the season, where we fly back home to play host to the Buffalo Bills, and none other than Anthony Lynn's former team. Another team that our coaching staff is going to know extremely well in back-to-back weeks. So those 2 games, I have us winning. I have Anthony Lynn beating his former team 41-28. And which should be a very easily won game there in LA. Now, Buffalo does have one of the better secondaries in the league at 6th overall, stopping the pass. But then they also are atrocious in the run defense at 29 overall. So another game where Melvin Gordon could maybe go for a record and do some real damage there against Buffalo's run defense. And it's now time to go to the Turkey Bowl. The short week after the victory against Buffalo. And then we go to the second biggest game of the year, or maybe the first, depending on who you ask, against the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas on Thanksgiving with the whole country watching. And this is a game that I had to think about for quite a bit of time. And what it comes down to is I gave the edge to Dallas for being the home team. I have it as being a very close game. I have it being won by a field goal. And of course, Dallas having the better of the 2 kickers. I gave them the slight edge. Another game that I hope to be wrong about. I would want nothing else but to be home on that day with my family watching the game and to see my team beat a team that probably, next to the Raiders, in my opinion, are, probably the second team I hate the most, next to the Raiders. You look at their offensive line, it's crazy stacked. When you look at their defense from last year, another top heavy team. They were ranked first against the run, and they were ranked amongst the bottom when it came to the pass defense. So if anybody is going to win that game for us on Thanksgiving, you have to believe it's going to come from the arm of Phillip Rivers. He's got to make something happen. And not only him, but, you got to look at our wide receiver core. And, hopefully we get a healthy Keenan Allen back at 100%. And he's able to do some damage against the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving. But I gave it to them 17-14 on Thanksgiving. And, I say that crossing my fingers, hoping that it's the other way around. And that we win on the foot of Josh Lambo, maybe kicking a field goal to win the game. That would be awesome. So, moving on, let's see who we play next. We fly back home for 2 games, and we play the Cleveland Browns, a team that we should never have lost to last year. But, they went 1-15. They beat us one of the last games of the year. So, big whoop. Needless to say, it's going to be a blowout in LA against Cleveland. I have the victory coming our way by the score of 35-16. And I have Phillip Rivers throwing 5 touchdowns in that game. I think he's going to go nuts. And we are going to win that game very easily. Moving on, the week after that, we're going to play host to the Washington Redskins. Now, this is a little bit different of a story. The Washington Redskins, we haven't played them in about 3 or 4 years, but I feel like it's going to be a close game. And of course, I say that with a little bit of skepticism because we don't know what's going to happen with Kirk Cousins. There's speculation going on right now that they want to trade him in the draft to try to get a quarterback themselves and basically pawn off Kirk Cousins to another team. So assuming that Kirk Cousins is still with the Redskins, that's going to be a very close game. They did have a high-powered offense last year, and they were they had a not-so-good pass defense, even though they had Josh Norman. They came in 26th against the pass, 24th against the run, and so they're very beatable. That's one thing I will say. They're very beatable, and I do have us winning this game 27-21, and that'll be basically the end result there. I don't see there being a problem with us winning that game. Like I said, with the asterisks next to Kirk Cousins' name on that one, I do see us winning that game 27-21. Now we're approaching the last 3 games of the year. We fly for our last road trip of the season, and we first stop in Kansas City to face our rivals, the Chiefs, in that loud-ass stadium with those fans. And when we look at Kansas City's surprisingly not so good stats from last year, they came in 19th against the pass, 26th against the run. So, the Chiefs, they're a very, very beatable team also. But I know that when you talk to people that have been to Arrowhead Stadium, And they talk about how crazy loud it is over there, and how a lot of teams always have problems playing over there. I went ahead and gave them the victory. You're not going to win them all, especially against your division rivals. And we did have the victory earlier in the season against the Chiefs at home. So I went ahead and gave it a season split at 1-1 apiece. And so I gave the Chiefs the 20-14 victory in Kansas City. Then we fly to New York City again for the second time of the year, but this time to play the other team in New York, the New York Jets. A team that, unlike the New York Giants, is their polar opposite. They have a lot of work that needs to be done there. Where do you start with the Jets? They have a disaster at the quarterback position. They have no true running back. I mean, Bilal Powell. I mean, come on. So the Chargers, should win that game in New York. I have them winning that game 28-10, and what should be a blowout. But just for kicks and giggles, let's look at the Jets' stats from last year. They were ranked 5th against the pass, so they're one of the better teams when it comes to knocking down footballs from quarterbacks. And then against the run, they're ranked 19th, so they're obviously towards the bottom of the tank on that one. So another game where Melvin Gordon could run and do some damage. Not saying that Phillip Rivers can't play against adversity. He definitely can. He's proven that. But I just went ahead and gave the victory to us against the Jets in New York. We just have to be a little careful there with that secondary and make sure we feed the ball to Melvin Gordon. So then we go to the last game of the season against our arch nemesis rivals, Oakland Raiders. But this time they're going to be playing in our house. Another series that I gave a season split to. So I gave Oakland the win in Oakland, and I gave us the victory on the last game of the season in LA, a game that I think would be very close with two high-powered offenses. I think this game has the potential of going to overtime. I gave us the win against the Raiders 27-21 in overtime, with Phillip Rivers throwing a long ball to Keenan Allen for the win. A win that not only will win us the division crown, but also secure us a spot in the 2018 NFL playoffs. Figuring that we're going to be starting the playoffs out in 2018 January, so we will be there, folks. And if you were keeping a tally of all of these win-losses, I have us ending the season at 10-6, 10 wins, 6 losses. Now, you look at last year where we won only 5 games. So I basically have us doubling our victories and minusing our losses by about half as well. So, and I think the distinction here, given that I've given us a 10-6 record for next year, is I feel like plus or minus a game, meaning that out of this, prediction that I've given you in these 16 games, I feel like if I'm wrong about one of them, I'm most likely going to be wrong about a lot of them, but I hope to be wrong about the Dallas game more than anything. I'll tell you that much. So hopefully we go 11-5 and we flip the script and win the most improved team from last year. I do think Joey Bosa is going to do some more damage this year like he did last year. He'll probably be in the top 3 when it comes to sacks. I do have Phillip Rivers throwing over 4,000 yards yet again. I have Melvin Gordon hitting 1,500 yards running the ball. And then I have our secondary. I think we are going to be a force to be reckoned with when it comes to the passing game. And I say that with the hopes that, we already have two awesome all-star caliber, Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks. But reveal there. I'm hoping that we draft the safety out of Ohio State, Malik Hooker. And I feel like he would not only be a ball hawk, I think he would kind of round off our secondary very well. And then Joey Bosa can continue to do some damage, rushing the quarterback, getting those sacks. So I do think that we are going to be one of the better secondaries in the league next year. And then we were already pretty good against the run. So as of last year, so I just think overall we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think that a lot of people underestimate us and our potential. But when you look at the players we have, and you look at the potential that we have with, we just, I can go on about that. So I'll probably save that for another podcast. It's time for me to wrap up this podcast number 2 here with you guys. But, I could go for hours talking about our team. But hopefully you guys like this episode. If you guys do, I would appreciate, the likes and the subscribes, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. I would much appreciate that. And I'm going to be coming back with a third podcast later on this week, of course, after the draft, to recap the draft and kind of go over pick by pick rounds 1 through 7 and see how things pan out. If you guys have any comments, questions, anything like that, please go ahead and leave them on social media. I'll be sure to get back to you guys. But until the next podcast, which is podcast number 3, Chargers draft overview, I will basically sign off and talk to you guys later. And as always, bolt up, guys. Bolt up for 2017. We are coming. See you guys. Charger Dave signing off.